5 million Americans have it, and there's no cure. It will take the lives of more people than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined. It's Alzheimer's disease. The good news is you can reduce your risk of developing Alzheimer's. Here's how.
This is a problem that doesn't just affect memory, but other thinking skills. And eventually, it robs the person of really who they were and their abilities to care for themselves.
Dr. Richard Isaacson is a man on a mission. He wants to win the battle against Alzheimer's. Dr. Isaacson is the founder and director of the Alzheimer's Prevention Clinic at Weill Cornell Medicine at New York Presbyterian. He's also authored and co-authored several books that offer new approaches and answers to reducing your risk of developing this dreaded disease. For him, the fight against Alzheimer's is personal.
When I was in high school, a very, very close family member to me was diagnosed, and he was one of 4. Now, Uncle Bob was a very special person in my life. So for many reasons, more than one, I'm here today because of him.
It's the last and the most severe stage of this disease that most people think of when they picture Alzheimer's. Yet the warning signs show up long before someone reaches this final stage.
So stage 3 is when someone has dementia or the person can't care for themselves. Now, as a prelude to that, we have stage 2 Alzheimer's, which is called mild cognitive impairment due to Alzheimer's. This means that a person is having some cognitive changes and slip-ups with memory, but that person is able to take care of themselves. But there's another stage called preclinical or pre-symptomatic Alzheimer's. Interesting because the disease has started in the brain, but there are no symptoms. That's called stage 1. Now, there's also a stage before that where there is no memory loss and there's also no Alzheimer's that's developed in the brain. That's true Alzheimer's prevention.
While it's not clear what causes people to get Alzheimer's, medical research is suggesting that many of the same risk factors for heart disease, stroke, and diabetes also put you at risk for developing this disease.
We know that Alzheimer's disease doesn't just start like that. Just like a heart attack, you don't have a heart attack just immediately. You don't have a stroke that started yesterday. Alzheimer's disease develops over decades in the brain.
To analyze your risk, start by creating an overall picture of your health. Consider your family's medical history. Is there a history of dementia or Alzheimer's? And here's an important risk factor to look at. Medical research suggests there's a strong connection between body weight and Alzheimer's disease. An unhealthy body weight increases the risk for diabetes. If you are diabetic, you are at a greater risk of developing Alzheimer's. These are just some of the warning signs that Dr. Isaacson looks at when evaluating his patients.
We look at the percent body fat, the amount of lean muscle mass that the person has, and we try to get a sense of what's going on inside. Most people don't think about blood sugar and glucose or blood sugar regulation as a part of brain health. But what we're learning is that cholesterol, blood sugar, and nutrition, as well as inflammation, these are all imperative factors.
You can reduce your risk for Alzheimer's starting today. Begin by eating and drinking smarter.
Everyone today can take their next meal and make it just incrementally brain healthier by making one change here and one change there.
Begin your day with a cup of coffee. Recent studies suggest that drinking caffeinated coffee offers many brain protective benefits. A study led by the Harvard School of Public Health found that moderate coffee consumption helped reduce the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Lowering your risk of diabetes lowers your risk of Alzheimer's. And for even more healthy benefits, add this to your next cup of coffee: cocoa powder.
A mocha for your memory in the morning. It's what I do every morning. Caffeinated coffee, 6 to 8 ounces, not sure how much is perfect, but adding dark cocoa powder. And specific types of dark cocoa powder have actually been shown to improve brain health over time.
While you are enjoying your cup of mocha, add some berries to your breakfast. Blueberries and strawberries are packed with antioxidants that help protect the brain. They are also loaded with vitamins that will boost your immune system.
Eating berries, blueberries, and strawberries, a half a cup at least 2 to 3 times a week, has absolutely been shown to delay cognitive decline for years, up to 2 years.
One of the best ways that you can protect your brain is to reduce the size of your food portions.
A Mayo Clinic study showed that if you can eat less than 2,100 calories or so every day on average, you can reduce your chances of developing Alzheimer's significantly.
Changing what you eat is only part of what you need to do to stay brain healthy. You need to move. Daily exercise has been shown to greatly reduce your risk of developing a long list of diseases, including Alzheimer's. Simply put, what's good for the waistline is good for the brain.
So aside from nutrition, exercise probably has the greatest base of evidence in terms of reducing a person's risk and protecting brain health.
One of the benefits of exercise is increased blood flow to the brain. Just like the rest of your body, your brain needs a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients to stay healthy. One of the hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease is the buildup of amyloid beta plaques. These plaques spell trouble for the brain.
For example, anyone today that wants to reduce their likelihood of having amyloid in their brain, or that wants to reduce the amyloid that may be in their brain already, can exercise. It's the only thing that we can do. We don't have a magic pill or a magic bullet to do that today, but exercise directly lowers amyloid in the brain.
And make sure to end your day with a good night's rest. While we sleep, our brains are busy. New connections are being formed to strengthen and create memories. It's also during this time that the brain is busy cleaning up.
When we sleep, amyloid needs to be disposed of. The garbage trucks come and gets rid of the amyloid, but if someone's not sleeping optimally, the amyloid stays in there. Restorative sleep is absolutely imperative for brain health.
Every step you take towards living healthier adds up. Commit to making brain-healthy changes right now. It's what Trish Whitaker did. When Trish started, she was tipping the scales towards obesity and flirting with diabetes. She also noticed that her memory was slipping. She knew that she needed to make changes and quick.
And I was motivated because with so much Alzheimer's in my family, it's like it's just always right here.
At the Alzheimer's Prevention Clinic, she worked with Dr. Isaacson and his staff to create a plan tailored towards her individual risk factors. Today, she's living her life with new hope.
I was in a size 18. And after a year, I was in a size 6. And although weight loss wasn't my primary goal, I was not unhappy with that. Even better than that, where all my health tests were so much better. It's kind of empowering. I'm not just lying down and letting whatever is going to happen to me wash over me. I'm saying I'm going to try to take an active role to control what's going on in my life.
Take an active role in your health today. Remember, you can do all things with God's help. There's an abundant life promised to each one of us, and God will be with you each step of the way on your road to a healthy brain. In the next 40 seconds, someone in the United States will be attacked by our nation's 5th leading cause of death. In the time it takes to watch this segment, someone will lose their life to a stroke. Here's what you need to know to protect yourself from this devastating killer.
When our patients come in, they're critically ill. A major portion of their brain is not functioning properly.
It's here in Hampton Roads, Virginia, at DePaul's Comprehensive Stroke Center, that Dr. John Baker and his team work to rescue patients suffering from the damaging effects of a major stroke. Using state-of-the-art medical technology, they can quickly pinpoint the areas of the brain that have been affected and take action. It's a situation where every second counts.
When a blood clot goes up into the brain inside the artery and cutting off blood flow, there's not enough oxygen and nutrients to the brain. Some people estimate that there's almost 2 million brain cells dying every minute while that blood flow is cut off. Therefore, it's very important to get that blood flow restored as fast as possible.
Just like a heart attack, a stroke can strike anyone at any time. And just as in a heart attack, the lack of blood flow damages the brain.
There are 2 basic types of stroke. The first one is where a blood clot ends up inside an artery and plugs it up. and causes low blood flow to the brain. The second is a little less common, is where the brain has an artery or vein that bleeds and causes pressure on the brain.
Knowing the warning signs of a stroke and acting quickly are the keys to protecting yourself or those you love. If a stroke is suspected, remember, be fast.
The first is balance. The person may be unsteady in their walking. The second one is E, their eyes. They may have visual difficulties. F is face, that they may have a weakness on one side of the face or the other. The next one is an arm weakness, a droop down. And then the next one is slurring of their speech, the S. And then T is for time, that we need to really move fast.
Call 911 immediately if you or someone you know is experiencing any of these symptoms. An ambulance will rush the patient to the nearest stroke center. When the patient arrives, scans will be performed to determine if a stroke has happened and what treatment is needed.
That allows us to start getting the intravenous medicines, the TPA, to try to break up that clot going even faster. And then we start looking for which artery and vein caused the problem. And then we can immediately go up inside the artery and try to remove clots that are blocking it, or we can go up inside the artery or vein and try to seal it off if it was causing bleeding into the brain.
What if you could press the rewind button before a stroke has happened? According to the National Stroke Association, up to 80% of all strokes are preventable. Protecting yourself starts with getting the facts.
The risk factors for stroke increase with advancing age. That's usually due to things like longstanding high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes with high blood sugars, high cholesterol, things that are untreated, long-term smoking. So the longer that goes, the more injury there are to the blood vessels.
Getting your blood pressure under control is your first line of defense. What's one of the best ways to do this? Lose weight. According to the American Heart Association, losing as little as 10 pounds can help lower your blood pressure, nearly as much as the equivalent of one blood pressure medication. Not only will losing weight help lower your blood pressure, it will also lower your risk of type 2 diabetes. People who are diabetic are at greater risk for stroke, heart disease, and Alzheimer's. Here's one simple way to lose weight. Drink water. A study in the UK found that adults who drank 16 ounces of water 30 minutes before meals were able to drop 9 pounds over 12 weeks. Go for a walk. Walking every day can help you lose weight and lower your blood pressure. Walking with a friend can help you build an enjoyable habit. And partner with your doctor. Be sure to ask questions during your next office visit. Remember, you are the biggest advocate for your health. If you have any heart-related issues, talk about it. Untreated heart conditions set the stage for stroke.
One of the other risk factors for an ischemic stroke is an irregular heartbeat called atrial fibrillation. With that irregular heartbeat, little clots can form in the heart and leave the heart and go up and lodge in the brain, cutting off blood flow.
Don't disregard important warning signs. If you notice a sudden headache or become lightheaded, if your vision is blurred or you have trouble speaking, even if it goes away, don't ignore it. You might be experiencing a mini stroke or a TIA.
The signs and symptoms of a transient ischemic attack, or TIA, are exactly the same as a stroke at the onset. It's just that they get better very quickly. So we treat them identically. In fact, a TIA is a wonderful thing for us to be able to treat because it's a stroke that could be prevented in the future as opposed to somebody that's already having a big stroke. The most important thing about stroke is to try to prevent one before it happens. Preventing that brain injury is so much better than trying to treat the stroke once it occurs.
Preventing a stroke is possible. Find out your risk factors and start making necessary changes. The Bible says that a heart at peace gives life to the body. God loves you and cares about every detail of your life. Ask Him to help you as you practice new healthy habits. He delights to do good things for His children. God bless you. We all have them. In fact, it would be almost impossible to get through a day without them. Some of them keep us safe and make things easy. Others are so dangerous, they could cost us our lives. What are these powerful agents that seem to rule over us? They're habits, and the good news is you can change them.
One of the things you need to know is that no matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this, because chances are you've done it in a way where you fought against what your brain is trying to do rather than working with it.
Studying the brain's inner working and its amazing abilities is what Art Markman, a cognitive scientist and professor at the University of Texas, does every day. In his book, Smart Change, he shares tools to leverage the way our brains work to develop healthy habits.
One thing that people don't understand about habits is that habits really are memories. You know, if I said to everybody, hey, remember a birthday party you attended, you remember a birthday party you attended. It doesn't take a lot of work. That's just what memory does. And the same thing happens. Now I'm in my kitchen and my brain says, oh, it must be time for you to eat these cookies, because that's what you do at this time of day.
This automatic response is part of what Dr. Markman calls the GO system. This system is a set of mechanisms inside the brain that work to learn and create habits. Once these habits become established, we don't have to think about them anymore. So when you drive a car, use a smartphone, or go to your grocery store and quickly find what you want, you are experiencing the benefits of the GO system.
So whenever you repeat a set of actions in a particular situation, you eventually develop a habit to do that mindlessly. So the GO system is constantly driving you to do stuff.
When you want to make changes to your habits, you have to put the brakes on your GO system. That means having to slow down and think about what you are doing.
You used to eat a bowl of ice cream every evening while you're watching TV, and now you don't want to do it anymore? Well, that GO system says you're sitting in front of the TV, it's time to eat the ice cream. What's going to keep you from doing that? And that's a second set of brain systems that I call the STOP system. Now, the problem with the STOP system is it gets impaired really easily. So by stress, you get really stressed out, and now at the end of the day, you just give in to that ice cream.
Habits are hard to get rid of. Remember, they didn't just form overnight. The good news is you can create new behaviors within your habits.
So every time you do the behavior that you don't want to do anymore, just take a moment and think about, what was I doing? Where was I doing it? How did I feel? What was triggering that behavior? Because the thing about habits is we do almost all of them mindlessly. So you can't make a change in it until you make that mindful.
Start to notice what triggers an unhealthy habit. Let's say a stressful situation at work happens. That's your cue, reaching for a candy bar or a bag of chips. Now that you've identified your cue, substitute a healthier behavior. Take a 5-minute walk instead of the candy and see how your new behavior makes you feel. Continue to substitute your new behavior every time the cue appears. And now you have a new healthy habit.
One of the most popular New Year's resolutions is, I want to lose weight this year. Losing weight is sort of a negative thing. You're not actually doing something. So what you really need to do is to turn that into a positive goal. I want to eat differently. I want to exercise more. The idea is I'm creating actions that I can perform that can eventually become my new habits. And that's the way I optimize my goal.
Now use what you have learned about yourself to create a plan. Write out your goals. What do you want to accomplish? Why is it important to you? List the action steps you will need to take and any obstacles that might stand in your way. Now it's time to put your plan into action. Start with being specific on your calendar.
I'm going to exercise Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 4:30 in the afternoon. So now you're forced to really think about all the trade-offs you need to make if you're going to seriously make a change in your behavior. But the second thing is that by putting it on your calendar like that, now when Monday at 4:30 comes, you get yourself ready to go exercise, and eventually you've created something that can become a habit.
Every time you get out there and take action, you are reprogramming your GO system with the habits you want. But watch out, because there are things that can sidetrack your progress. Reach out to others for help. They can increase your chance for success.
If I'm trying to eat less and now I'm really stressed, maybe now this is the day I need to go out with a friend and do something else rather than sitting in my kitchen where all my food is completely available, so that I'm not relying on the stop system to keep me from doing the thing I don't want to do.
Joining with people who are succeeding where you want to succeed makes changing your habits a lot easier.
Turns out other people's goals are actually contagious. Maybe you're not so excited about exercising, but you've got a friend who really loves to walk every morning and you like that friend. Well, you know what? Hitch a ride with that friend and every morning have that friend come by, and now you'll go walk together for a half hour.
Another thing you can do is prepare your environment for success. Get rid of anything that might tempt you and keep you from victory. So if that bowl of ice cream is calling your name, show it who's boss and throw it away.
So there I am, it's 10 o'clock at night, and I want to pull out that ice cream and it's not there. Well, now I go on and do something else instead. So we can manipulate our environment in ways that make those desirable behaviors relatively easy to do and the undesirable behaviors hard.
Setbacks are going to happen. When they do, stay positive. You might lose a battle here and there, but you want to win the war.
If you had a friend who was trying to change his or her behavior and they had a bad day, what would you say to them? You wouldn't say, oh, give up now. You'd say, no, keep at it. You're doing great. Well, you have to give yourself the same amount of compassion that you would give to someone else.
One of the best ways to ensure that your habits will last is to reach out and help others. Become a mentor.
And part of what that does, of course, is to give you the joy of working with another person and seeing their change. But part of it also reminds you of how far you've come and how much work you put in to get to the point where you are right now, so that you're not tempted to run back off to that single serving carton of ice cream, or maybe to stay in when you could be exercising.
Real change is possible. Start by taking an honest look at your life and ask God to point out the habits He wants to help you change today. Write it down and create a plan. Proverbs 27, verse 17 says, "As iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend." So go out and join others who are living the life that you want to live. And remember that you can be a help to someone else in their journey too. You might have heard the expression, "You are what you eat." Well, today, cutting-edge medical research shows a strong connection between the foods we eat and chronic illnesses like heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and even Alzheimer's. So protecting your brain starts in a pretty unlikely place, your gut. Welcome to the human digestive system. When you eat, food is broken down and processed by the different organs that make up this vital system. It's also home to a community of over 100 trillion microbes. Researchers are discovering that everything from your waistline to your mental state of mind is influenced by these bacteria living in your gut.
In a very real sense, our bodies are fully integrated. What happens in the gut, for example, dramatically affects brain function, as well as the risk for brain degeneration years from now.
Practicing neurology for over 30 years, Dr. David Perlmutter witnessed the devastating effects diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's were having on his patients, and then tragically, his own father.
I found myself being, really quite frustrated, because we were basically treating the symptoms of neurological disease, basically focused on the smoke and ignoring the fire. And I really felt that there had to be more.
What he discovered completely changed the way he saw the diseases that he was treating. Today, he's sharing what he has learned through his website, drperlmutter.com, and a popular series of books about brain health. In his recent book, The Brain Whole Life Plan, He offers a roadmap to protecting our brains.
We now recognize that things going on in the gut are being manifested in brain disorders, heart disorders, joint, skin, you name it. So it has a wide-ranging effect throughout the body. Disruption of the gut bacteria is the cornerstone of chronic degenerative conditions.
Everything we eat, drink, and are exposed to impacts the delicate balance of our gut bacteria. When this community turns toxic, it sets the stage for chronic inflammation.
This term inflammation is, again, something we are all familiar with. You get bitten by a mosquito and the area gets red, it swells, it becomes painful, and it loses function. That exact process goes on in the brain. And here's what's really the empowering part of that notion, and that is the set point of inflammation in your body is governed by the level of healthy bacteria that live within your gut. Who knew?
It turns out staying healthy begins in the kitchen. We all need to stock up on foods that will keep our bodies strong and get rid of the foods that are making us sick. Start with sugar.
Sugar is toxic for your brain, and it doesn't matter what kind of sugar you want to talk about. And when we're constantly bombarding ourselves with sugar, we're making more insulin, and that's devastating from a neurological perspective because the bigger your belly, the greater is your risk for brain degeneration.
Become a smart shopper. Buy foods as close to the way God made them. The bigger the list of ingredients on any item you buy, the bigger the risk to your brain.
We know what's in an avocado. We know what's in a head of broccoli. Look for color. Color really does translate into being healthful for you. Reds that you would see in red bell pepper, for example, greens in kale and in chard, and even things like dandelion greens. Wonderful food because they're actually rich in prebiotic fiber.
Prebiotic fiber is the food that our gut bacteria need to thrive. Here's a few of the star vegetables loaded with fiber to add to your shopping cart. Carrots, asparagus, onions. Eating these foods will help keep your gut happy.
We also like to recommend fermented foods, things like kimchi, drinking kombucha, cultured yogurt. Why? Because these fermented vegetables, for example, are full of healthy bacteria. It's like taking a really good probiotic supplement, again, to reestablish gut health and in the long run, help reduce inflammation.
So, add a bowl of yogurt to your breakfast. And while you are at it, enjoy some eggs too. They've been called nature's multivitamin. Each egg is an incredible source of protein, vitamins, minerals, and healthy fat.
Eggs are a wonderful food for your heart and a wonderful food for your brain. So we've really got to shift the mentality here and welcome healthy fat back to the table. All these years we were told that fat was to be demonized and it was going to set the stage for who knows what. But it turns out that fat is wonderful for your body, it's terrific for your brain, it's powerfully good nutrition. Why? Because good fat reduces inflammation.
What's one of the best sources of healthy fat? Olive oil. This staple of Mediterranean cooking needs to be a part of your diet if you want to protect your brain. Next, you can liven things up by adding some healthy spices.
Embrace the notion of going from sweet to spicy. So welcome black pepper, red pepper, all forms of pepper back to the table, a little Himalayan sea salt. Turmeric is a wonderful spice. New research from UCLA has demonstrated how powerfully anti-inflammatory turmeric is.
Surprisingly, fasting is also good for your brain. A study at Johns Hopkins found that limiting caloric intake for a couple of days a week showed promising results in the fight against Alzheimer's.
It might be simply skipping breakfast and then prolonging the time between dinner and your next meal for a total of 12 to 16 hours. And it is actually really good for your brain. It allows you clarity and also amplifies your sense of gratitude.
One of my favorite psalms says, "This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it." Be glad you have the opportunity today to protect your brain and improve your health. There's no time like the present, and you'll be rejoicing at how good you feel. You leave for work and you can't find your car keys. You see someone you've met before, but you just can't remember their name. These senior moments can be frustrating, but the good news is you can still enjoy a younger brain. Here's how. Dr. Gary Small is the director of the UCLA Longevity Center and co-author of 2 Weeks to a Younger Brain. He says research is showing that while our brains do age like the rest of our bodies, we can make simple changes that will help protect our brains and keep our memory sharp.
So a younger brain is functioning in tip-top form. You can remember people's names, you don't misplace your keys, you can solve problems readily, you have a good fund of information that's readily available. An older brain struggles, and in fact, for the average person, by the time they reach age 45, there's going to be a decline in memory compared to when they were in their 20s.
Stress ages us. According to a recent Gallup poll survey, the average American works 47 hours a week. Many workers report working more than 50 hours. Add this to our busy schedules at home, and we get a recipe for disaster. Feeling stressed out? So is your brain.
Chronic stress causes wear and tear on our brain cells. In fact, in animal studies, we find that the memory centers of the brain are smaller in animals undergoing chronic stress. If you inject a human volunteer with a stress hormone like cortisol, it causes temporary memory impairment.
A chronically stressed out brain is at risk for a long list of both physical and mental disorders. Alzheimer's and major depression are both at the top of this list. Getting your stress levels under control is critical to keeping your brain healthy and young. Here's something you can do right now that will help you relax and reduce stress. Sit in a comfortable chair with your feet flat on the floor. Relax your arms and close your eyes. Take air in through your nose and slowly release it through your mouth. This helps your body get additional oxygen, and this reduces stress.
We know that relaxation methods can actually reverse this memory impairment from stress. It can improve mood, it can improve memory ability, and even helps our general health.
Add to this prayer. The Bible says to be anxious for nothing and to bring our requests to God. A study at Duke University found that people who prayed enjoyed better overall mental and physical well-being. Next, you need to get moving. Exercise is another way to keep our brains healthy and cut our stress load.
One of the most important things we can do to protect our brains is to exercise. Anything that gets your heart to pump oxygen and nutrients to your brain is going to be good for the brain. And the studies show that your body produces endorphins, which lift your spirits. People have heard about runner's high, so you feel good and you're mentally sharper as a result of it.
A healthy diet is another important part of keeping your brain young. Replace the foods that are robbing your brain's health with foods that protect it. An easy way to start is by adding more veggies to your dinner plate.
First, it's very difficult. There are areas in the thinking brain, the frontal lobe, that are telling us, eat the Oreos, eat the Oreos. And there's another area saying, don't eat the Oreos. So it's kind of a battle of the brain that goes on. But once you get over that initial period, the brain wiring changes, so it becomes easier.
Now that you're changing what's on your dinner plate, exercising, and taking control of your stress, you need to add a daily mental workout too.
So the scientific evidence is pretty compelling that if we educate ourselves, if we stimulate our minds, that's going to protect our brains from further cognitive decline. So we always encourage people to travel, to have conversations, to play games, to interact, because we think it helps their brain cells stay healthy and strong.
And what about those senior moments? You can use these strategies to boost your memory.
One of the most common memory complaints people have is that they leave the house and they forget their phone or an important document. And what I recommend is to create a memory habit before you leave the house. Just review your schedule and think about each appointment and some of the details of what you're going to need for that appointment.
Make sure that everything you need has a home.
So if you always forget where you place your keys, create a memory place. It could be a hook in the kitchen, it could be a place right on your desk.
If you are like most people, you're surrounded by distractions. If you want to protect your memory, you've got to learn how to focus.
Two major techniques. We call it focus and frame. Focus is a reminder to pay attention. The biggest reason people don't remember is because they're simply distracted. And frame is a way of putting the information in a framework so that it has meaning. And if we can make something meaningful, it will be memorable.
Try this the next time you want to remember something. Draw or visualize a picture. If you are trying to remember a person's name, think of a visual image that will trigger your memory.
This whole process of trying to come up with visual images to remember information is a form of mental exercise that gives your brain cells a workout, but it's very practical because then you have that information at the tip of your tongue and you don't have to struggle so much.
One of the best things we can do to keep our brains young is to be socially active.
People who are socially connected live longer, they live better, and they live sharper. So lifestyle, what you eat, whether you exercise or not, whether you're interacting with other people, that has a bigger impact on your brain health than what you inherited from your parents. We all have more control than we realize to keep our brains healthy for the rest of our lives.
So what are you waiting for? Start today. The Bible says in the book of Isaiah that those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. Their youth will be renewed like the eagles. Ask God to help you make these simple changes. You'll be well on your way to enjoying a younger brain and be all that God created you to be.